Hi, I'm Effie, and for no particular reason, I have decided that I want to finally read all of Sierra Simone's Backlist. I have only done this for, I think, two authors before. So I did it for John Mars a couple of years ago. I don't know the actual timeline, but I actually did it for a video where I read, at that point, he had 10 books out, and I will be doing a follow-up of the 4 books he's subsequently published since I did that video. But yeah, I did a video where I read like all of John Mars's all of John Mars's like 10-book backlist, and that was a lot of fun. And whilst I didn't do it for a video, although I keep having plans to do a video around their backlist, I have read almost everything by V. Schwab. The only thing that I haven't read is The Ending Writes Itself, which Schwab has co-wrote with Kat Clark, because that's not quite out yet. And there's a bonus short story in some of the editions of the Fragile Threads of Power, and I don't own any of those editions, so I haven't read that short story. But I'm pretty sure I've read literally everything else, like including the essay in Don't Call Me Crazy, the original short story First Blood that was in Vampires Never Die, the short story from Universe of Wishes. Anyway, we're getting off track. I want to try and get myself all up to date with Sierra Simone's backlist. The reason I mentioned V. Schwab is because they are one of my favourite authors. Sierra Simone is another favourite author. If you're interested, currently securely favourite authors are S.T. Gibson, Alexis Hall, V. Schwab, Sophie Snow, and Sierra Simone. So I will insert a wee clip here of me running through the Sierra Simone checklist of which ones I have read and haven't read, and then I guess we'll figure out a plan for moving forward. It's been a minute since I filled out this checklist, and I'm actually kind of excited to see where it is versus where it was last time. Obviously, this is a completely fresh checklist. It's also been updated since the last time I did it. Just start at the start and work the way down, I suppose. So, Red Priest, Midnight Mass, Sinner, Gloria, and Saint. Devil and Angel, assuming it's still going to be called Angel, are not out yet, so I couldn't possibly read them. I've read Fundamentals of Being a Good Girl, and those two don't even have titles, they're not out yet. As for the new Camelot series, I've read American Queen, American Prince, American King. Should probably do it with my left so you can see. Dear Ash, Instructions, Cards of Love, The Moon, and American Squire. I've not read American Witch. I was originally planning on rereading the whole series and then reading American Witch, but if I'm trying to catch up, I think I may just read it as a standalone and then I can go back and reread it at another time. Christmas Notch, I've only read Merry Little Meet Cute, Lioness. I've read Salt in the Wound, Salt Kiss, Beg Me, Honeycut, Grotto, Bitterburn, and The Sleepover. So I've read A Lesson in Thorns, Feast of Sparks, Harvest of Sighs, and Door of Bruises. So standalones, I've read Supplicant, Sanguine, and The Fey Queen's Captive. So I've still got 3 in that section to read. I haven't read any of the Misadventures books so far. I have read The Chasing of Eleanor Vane, The Last Crimes of Peregrine Hind, and The Conquering of Tate the Pious. I've not read those, but they are available on KU, so, or at least in the UK they currently are, so I can try them without having to pay any additional cost. And then for Markham Hall, I've only read Awakening of Ivy Lavold. So in terms of what I haven't read that I could, there's American Witch, all of these Christmas Notch books, but I will say I'll give myself a pass to leave them if I want to read them at Christmas. So potentially we'd have a follow-up video of me reading the Christmas Notch series around Christmas time. And then I've got Red and White, My Present This Year, and Sherwood to read in standalones. I haven't read any of the Misadventure series. They are not currently available on KU, but for the sake of completeness, I potentially will pay, I think it's like £3 each to buy the ebooks of them. They're on KU, so I can at least give them a try. I think my plan is to try them first for them, and I own the audiobooks of the Markham Hall series, so I should be able to clear them down. By the end of this week, I would like to have read everything on here that is currently available, but at the very minimum, I want to have read everything except the Christmas Notch series and the Misadventure series, but I think somewhere in between would be only having the Christmas Notch series to read and basically finish that at Christmas time with a follow-up vlog. So I can't work out if that was more of her books that I've read than I expected. Like, I was very aware that I am making good progress at having read all of her backlist. I will put the caveat that I'm not going to seek out every bonus short story for this, because I'll read everything that's on the list, but I'm not going to be digging around and being like, okay, there was a bonus short story in this edition, let's try and find it. It's, that I will eventually, I'm sure, but at this point, this is what I'm working with. I will say that when I had a look to see, because I knew I owned a copy of American Witch, I've already forgotten what that's called. I knew I owned a copy of that, and then I knew I had it in like 2 different short story collections, and I came across this one called Once Upon a Dream that actually has a story that's not on the reading checklist, so I'll add that in as well. But I guess now I need to figure out like how doable this is. Like, let's have a look at how many pages we are looking at to complete this backlist, because ideally I'd like to finish it in the week. I think adding a little challenge element of like seeing how much of Sierra Simone's backlist I can tick off in 7 days adds a little fun spice element to this. This is just a simple spreadsheet I put together to try and figure out how many pages I would need to complete each day if I was going to complete this over 7 days in order to get all of Sierra Simone read. As you can see, I've put all of the Sierra Simone titles that I still need to read along the left-hand side. And then I've got a way of tracking where I am in the book, so I can like update as required, and I can change the amount of days remaining as I progress throughout the week, so I can keep on track of where I am. And as you can see, I've made like 4 different levels of how much of this I would read. So we've got the standalones and Markham Hall, which I would need to read 164 pages each day to finish in a week. Then we've got those plus the books co-written with Laurel and Page, which would be 255 pages each day. Then there's those plus the Forbidden Trinity, which would be 332 pages each day. And then we've got basically everything like that plus Christmas Notch, and that would be 502 pages each day. So, like, looking at this, I'm already a bit intimidated at just the numbers for the standalones, plus Markham Hall. We'll see what I manage to achieve over the course of this week, but that is my wee spreadsheet. So I started reading, or technically listening to, the Markham Hall series. Since the audiobook that I've got for Markham Hall is a bind up of the whole series, and it's been a while since I read The Awakening of Ivy Levold. I listened to the whole of The Awakening of Ivy Levold, and I'm now on to The Education of Ivy Levold, and I'm enjoying it. It kind of is giving me the vibes of the Bridgerton TV show and Benedict Bridgerton when he was in his rake phase and going to all kinds of parties, which is quite fun. It's mostly focused on Ivy Levold and Julian Markham, but there's a little bit of partying that has happened so far, and I kind of am anticipating we get more partying. But my plans for today have been somewhat derailed. We've got some kind of electrical fault in the flat. So I spent I don't know how long trying to fix that. And then I guess I've been when you have spring cleaning that you've been putting off for a while? Yeah, I've been doing that. I've been putting off some spring cleaning tasks for a minute. And knowing that we need to get an electrician in to get this fault fixed, that's kind of been my priority. But the problem is I can't listen to the audiobook at the same time, and I obviously can't read with my eyes whilst I'm doing spring cleaning. So today's not quite gone as well as I had planned. I don't know if that means I'm going to scrap what I'm doing or if it means I'm going to extend what I'm doing. This is only day one, so I love that the first time in 8 months or whatever that I've actually set my mind to doing a vlog, and of course everything goes wrong. Anyway, that's how it's going. I will likely be having a look at some unhauls. That's going to be a whole separate thing though, but I think I'm going to be going over my shelves and figuring out what I want to unhaul. At the moment I am organising my library, because the problem with subscription boxes is you get an awful lot of stuff and I don't want most of the stuff. So I think it's going to be taking photos of things ready to list on Vinted and hope the stuff I don't want someone else does. I'm not really sure. I don't have a plan. I am just overwhelmed with, I'm overwhelmed with books. I'm overwhelmed with stuff. I'm just generally overwhelmed, I think. How to make sure I don't yap a heap. Have me hold my somewhat heavy camera for an update. So I'm just popping in with a very quick update to say didn't really get anything read. In fact, no, not didn't really. I haven't read anything today because I've been so focused on trying to sort through the library and get the flat in general sorted so we can get an electrician in tomorrow. But I do need to eat, so I'm taking a wee break right now to eat, and I think I'm going to read, although I'm not sure if I'm going to pick up some Sierra Simone. I think I'm going to read something else, so me reading now is kind of moot, I suppose. But I'm hoping the electric is a quick and easy fix tomorrow, and I can actually get some reading done. But I guess it'll just depend, and I will keep updated to the best of my knowledge. Who knows how it's all going to shake out. So I decided to pick up my present this year last night before falling asleep, and I'm not sure how far I got into it. I want to say maybe a quarter of the way in. It's only 44 pages, but I was very ready for bed last night. I think I ended up being up for 20 hours yesterday, which I'm an insomniac, but anyway, I was very, very ready for bed. So I read a bit of it last night before falling asleep. And then I fell asleep. So I think my plan today is to focus on reading with my eyes. So I think I'm going to finish that. I'm very interested to look up the Folger's commercial. I think it's like a Christmas themed ad for a coffee company, but not being from the US, I've never seen the advert. So I'm reading this book that's based on an advert that I've never seen. So I'm going in like without any preconceived like notions or ideas. So I think it'll be really fun after I read it to go back and search down the advert and see what it's like and sort of compare and contrast. And then I think I'll probably pick up Once Upon a Dream, which I can't remember if I've said earlier in the video, but is a bind up, it's digital, but it's a bind up of Music Box Girl, Red and White, and American Witch. So I think I'll pick that up next because like it's 3 short stories, and then I'll move on to Sherwood. I don't know how far I'll get today. I'll be shocked if I don't finish my present this year. And then maybe get like 1 or 2 stories of Once Upon a Dream read. I think that's the aim, but we'll see how it goes, and I'll keep checking in and hopefully I'll find a better angle to film from. Although this isn't terrible, I just feel like you're so far away. But to reading, I finished, what was I reading? My present this year, and that's about all I finished today. I went down a bit of a social media rabbit hole, and it's almost midnight, so I don't think I'm getting any more read today. But I mean, at least I can tick one more thing off my list. I've now read my present this year. And this is the point that I say, if my parents happen to be watching this video, no, you're not. Like, what? Why are you watching a video where I talk about Sierra Simone, like quite a spicy author? Anyway, moving on. So, I don't know if I realised going in that the 2 main characters are step siblings, but something about Sierra Simone's writing means that stuff that I wouldn't normally read, I end up really enjoying. So, like step siblings, pseudo incest, that kind of thing, isn't usually my jam in books. Like, actually, like, can almost guarantee if a book contains that, I'm going to be like, nope, absolutely not. And like a great example of that is Dreamgirl Drama by Tessa Bailey. Now the interpersonal relationship and how it plays out is kind of different. Well, quite different really. But also it is step siblings that like meet for the first time as adults, like their parents get together as adults, like in both situations. So I can't remember the ages of the characters in Dreamgirl Drama, but like it's kind of moot. But in my present this year, their parents married just before the FMC turns 18, and the MMC I think is 7 years older. And like even that as well, even like the meeting before one of them's an adult, like that can sometimes be something that makes a book not my jam. But just something about the way Sierra Simone writes means that it works. I enjoy it. I am rooting for the characters. I'm going, I have no idea how they're going to have a happy ever after, but they are going to have a happy ever after. And I'm going to say something now. I'm not going to say what book it is. So if you haven't read all of Sierra Simone's Backlist and you don't want to be spoiled for something, skip ahead to when there's no longer a spoiler warning on screen. Something about Sierra Simone's writing means that even like literal, actually related characters, I still ended up like rooting for. I do think of all of the Sierra Simone books I've read so far, the book where two characters are actually, like, or at least you believe them to be, it's never confirmed one way or another, and that's like, I love that. That was possibly the one that like had the hardest time with the relationship dynamic, because like these characters were actually related, but even then I was like rooting for it. So yeah, I don't know what she puts in her books, but they do really work for me. Before I move on, let's find the advert that this short story is essentially fan fiction for. Okay, so first things first, I've got my Kindle here, and I'm gonna bring up the introductory note at the start. Gosh, you can see all the different colours of the screen just like reflecting on my face. Okay, so it is the 2009 Folger's commercial titled Coming Home. Okay, let's see if I can find that on YouTube. Like, I imagine so. And let's hope my screen recorder has enough space. I assume... Where's my screen recorder? Yeah. I assume it wouldn't let me record if I didn't have enough space. So 2009, Folger's Coming Home. Right, let's see. Let's see what it's like. Extended car? Okay, let's go.
I must have the wrong house.
Sister? Oh, I missed you so much. They waited up all night for you, you know.
It's a long way from West Africa. Oh, coffee.
Kiss here.
I brought you something from far away.
Really? Oh.
What are you doing?
You're my present this year.
Oh my gosh.
The best part of waking up is Folgers in
This is so
I smelled it. He's back.
Ryan, you have to leave.
What? What are you guys talking about? We know what's going on here. We know you're trying to each other.
What? No.
No, this isn't the
Brothers
real
and sisters
advert.
don't look at each other like that.
He sent you to West Africa for a reason, Ryan, to separate
No,
you
this
and your
must be
sister.
the real one.
Oh, yeah? What's this?
He's my present this year.
Jesus Christ.
Okay.
Oh my God! Oh my
I'm
God!
your son, and I'm in love with your daughter.
Oh, Ryan, what is in that box?
What's in the box, Ryan? Unbelievable.
Holy shit.
I love that we have so much in common because we grew up together. I just want to wake up every morning to the smell of you and Folger's Colombian dark roast. You make me the happiest brother.
Dad! Get off of him! I love him! No! Stop it!
This is so weird.
I just want my brother!
Is Folgers in your car?
Okay, let's try and find the actual one. That's what I get for trying to find an extended cut. Wait, what? Is that the real one? Because it looks like the same people. Right, let's see. No, that's the same people.
Sister?
I am so confused.
They waited up all night for you, you know.
It's a long way from West
Well,
Africa.
what?
Real coffee.
Kiss here.
I brought you something from far away.
Really? Oh.
What are you doing?
You're my present this year.
The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
I mean, I don't know if I'm just like, because I saw the one that I don't think was like the actual one, but it looked like the same people. I'm so baffled now. I'm gonna have to look into it. Okay, so the actors do switch. I just didn't notice. Oh yeah, the actors do notice. They do switch. It's so smooth. Okay, that makes sense. And I feel a little bit silly now for not noticing the actors had changed. But also, I do get how people like saw that ad and kind of got a vibe, because they are weirdly like familiar in more than a sibling way. Anyway, that was a fun experience. I guess I'm gonna try to like go to bed soon and think about this rather bizarre ad and the fan fiction essentially that I read based around it. Is this a better angle than the one I had yesterday? Not really sure. I'll find my angles eventually, I suppose. So I have been pottering away, making some graphics and whatnot, and continuing to listen to the Markham Hall collection. So I've now finished The Education of Ivy Lavold, which means I am 2 out of 3 books away through the Ivy Lavold trilogy, and then I'll have the London Lovers trilogy, which I assume follows Molly O'Flaherty, because they're both got her name in the title. I am enjoying this series for the most part, but I think something that's standing out to me is like it's very immersed in the time period, and I think like there's elements that feel as if they tap into sensibilities that aren't modern sensibilities. So, spoiler warning for something that happens in The Education of Ivy Lavold, or something that's revealed. So, in this book, like, there's this big deal about what this terrible thing Julian Markham's done. Like, he keeps telling Ivy, don't ask me about your cousin's death. And he's like, I didn't kill her, but I did something that will make you hate me. Like, it's my greatest shame, blah, blah, blah. And just like, we finally found out, basically right at the end of this book, what it is. And it's that Ivy's cousin cheated on Julian. So Julian then took another partner and tied Ivy's cousin to the bed and made her watch whilst Julian had sex with someone else. I'm not for a moment saying that what he did wasn't bad, because even within, you know, a non-monogamous relationship, there are rules, and like you can still cheat in a non-monogamous relationship because it's all about the boundaries that are set between partners. But it's more that this is built up to be like this massive, massive thing, and the scale just seems kind of off, and it's like I don't quite get it, and this ends up being the thing that makes Ivy go, nope, can't be with you. Julian is not the most considerate partner. This is definitely a book where it's like, yeah, this is not how a functional dom-sub relationship is going to work, etc., etc. But the thing that pushes her out the door is that Julian had sex with someone who wasn't Ivy's partner. And I'm like, I don't get it. I guess it's a case of like, on top of that is the fact that Ivy's just found out that she does have a living relative and she does have options. But also you're told that she loves Julian. But it's such a small thing, and it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, I don't get it, but it isn't ruining the experience, and I definitely want to continue the story. And like beyond all of that, these are very like high heat. Like there's a little bit of a mystery about what happened with Ivy's cousin, because in book one it's kind of built up as like it wasn't as accidental as it's originally thought. And like there's this chatter about, did Julian kill Ivy's cousin? And also, did he kill his first wife? But the focus of the books is very much on the heat. Like, you know, every other chapter, I think, or maybe even more frequently than that, these characters are being intimate, and sometimes they are being intimate with other characters. And I don't think I have anything much more to say. I'm looking forward to moving on to The Punishment of Ivy Lavold and then Molly O'Flaherty's books. So yeah, don't quite get everything that's necessarily being put down, but generally having a good time with this story. Time for another update. So I think I haven't popped in since I finished like Ivy Lavold's trilogy. Yeah, in fact, I definitely haven't, because there was a... Oops, I've got cookies next to me that want to fall over. There's like a bonus short story at the end that I didn't expect and wasn't on my list. I think maybe because the short story is part of like the editions of The Punishment of Ivy Lavold. I'm not 100% sure, because like I've literally only just bought the ebook. In fact, I could just grab it. Like my Kindle's right here. Let's look up, because I was getting a bit confused about it, because it kept being like because the audiobook kept having titles that aren't one of the 5 that I was aware of this book having, or this series having, so I kept getting really baffled. But also I like the idea of having a copy for my eyes, so that if there's any quotes I can highlight them. Obviously, like I've almost finished the series now, so it'd be on a reread, but I do like the idea of being able to, well, either search the series or go back and on reread, you know, highlight any quotes that I really like. So I grabbed the ebooks, and the ebooks also are bound up. So let's see. Because yeah, I got to the end of The Punishment of Ivy Lavold, and it was like The Reclaiming of Ivy Lavold. Yeah, so it's like incorporated into... Oh, interesting. Just like not spoil it for me, but at the end, so I'm looking at the chapter list. I don't know if it's gonna like pick up on camera, but I'm like looking at the chapter list on my Kindle to look everything up. And right at the bottom it says, want to find out what the Markhams are up to in present day, which I guess is telling me how the Markham Hall series feeds into the wider Sierraverse. Like, I know that Proserpina from A Lesson in Thorns, her surname is Markham, but I also know that she's related to Thornchapel. But yeah, I figure there's something going on there. But maybe that'll actually tell me at the end. Anyway, so yeah, I did enjoy the Ivy Lavold trilogy. As I say, it's a lot of like high heat. There's a little bit of mystery of what happened with her cousin, which you get the solution to, and it's quite easily resolved because the story's more focused on the romance between Ivy and Julian. And at some point in The Punishment of Ivy Lavold, I think it was, it sets up what Molly O'Flaherty's duology is. and I'm now reading that, and at my current listening speed, I've only got about an hour left, which is quite exciting. It means I'm almost done with these 5 books. I've definitely been enjoying Molly's duology more than Ivy's, but as a whole, I've, at this point, I think like Sierra Simone is an author that I just really enjoy. I mean, the thing is, because I'm reading it as a bind up, I'll rate it as a bind up, so it'll be an overall rating of the 5 books grouped together. So it's going to be a 5-star. But I don't know if I was rating Ivy's stories separate from Molly's, if I'd rate Ivy's slightly less. Not sure. What I did like though is the bonus short story at the end of Punishment called The Reclaiming of Ivy Levold. Like, it felt like a story we hadn't seen before from Sierra, where it's exploring the way that relationships that change and evolve after having children. And it was kind of like Ivy rediscovering her sexuality and sensuality, and kind of Julian figuring out how to negotiate the way that he feels now that he sees her as more than just like his wife, because she's also the mother of his child. It worked really well. Like, I don't love an epilogue baby just because like it's not something I need in a narrative for it to feel complete. But I think what Simone's done with this like bonus extra short story at the end is kind of explore it with nuance and use the epilogue baby as a way of further developing the relationship between the characters that has more to do with like parenthood than actually like I don't know how to properly explain it, but like it isn't really about the kid, it's about their relationship with each other rather than their relationship with their child as parents. Hopefully that makes sense, I'm not sure. And then Molly's story, so you kind of told that Molly is pressured to get married. She owns her own company and she's very successful, but the board of her company has decided that she needs to get married in order to continue as she was, because this is the 1870s and gosh, you couldn't have a woman running the company if she's unmarried. So they're pressuring her. But her story's also about her coming to terms with trauma, and it's heavy. The story's heavy. It deals with coerced sexual encounters. I would say it's moderate. What you see on page, like you're not getting like a lot of details, but you are getting some details of what happened, and you're also dealing with the lasting trauma that's come as a result of this encounter. And yeah, I love Molly as a character, but I also love that this story is exploring so much more. Yeah, I'm having a good time with the story, even if like some of the things are quite challenging, I guess, for want of a better word. And I think it's almost 10 o'clock now, so probably I don't even know if actually I will finish tonight, but I'm gonna guess I'm gonna finish this tonight and then probably read something not Sierra Simone and start tomorrow on either the short stories or Sherwood. Not sure, but you know, as always, I'll keep you updated. So it's probably about time for another update on my reading. I think the last time I gave an update, I hadn't quite finished the Markham Hall series. So I've now finished that. I have read, well, I've read all of them. That's what finishing it means. I really enjoyed the direction that Molly's story went in the end. The kind of final twist with her happy ever after was something that I don't think I could have ever predicted it going in that direction, and I quite enjoyed what that looked like for her. There was a moment as well that was like, okay, yeah, I could see how that was going to turn out, but then I don't think you were ever meant to interpret it as anything other than exactly how it went. So yeah, I had a really good time with the Markham Hall series. As I said earlier, I think Molly's story was a little bit stronger than Ivy's, but they were both quite enjoyable. And then I've moved on to reading Once Upon a Dream, which is American Witch, Music Box Girl, and Red and White. I have read American Witch already. I read it in its entirety before I went to sleep. And I liked it. It's a second chance romance for the character of Morgan Leffy from the new Camelot series. And I think what I quite liked was the way that it explored sub and dom dynamics and how they may not always be as rigid and they only mean as much as what they mean to the people involved in the dynamic. It also touched on the character, kind of exploring what it felt like it meant for her to fit within a subdom dynamic, especially in the context of her professional life and just her being perceived by the general public. It was just really, really gorgeous and quite fun. I like the way that it twisted with the idea of the Princess and the Pea. So all of these stories are based on fairy tales. So American Witch is based on Princess and the Pea. Music Box Girl is 12 Dancing Princesses. And then Red and White, I think, is Snow White and Red Riding Hood, I'm going to guess. So the Princess and the Pea thing was quite subtle, but still very fun. So yeah, I think I've only read the prologue of 12 Dancing Prince of Music Box Girl rather, and I don't know how it's gonna go. I'm vaguely aware of how the story of the 12 Dancing Princesses went. It's not one I'm super familiar with, but I'm familiar enough with, like, I know what the original beats were, and we'll see how it plays out for a romance. I think it could be setting up an interesting dynamic because this guy has been hired to follow the girls. So it's like there's a little bit of a power dynamic there that we'll see how that plays out. And then I think Red and White is FFM, which will be nice to see. I think as a whole, like, Sierra's books are all queer. I think. I'm trying to think now. So, New Camelot's obviously very, very queer. So's Lioness. I feel like we don't often get much, like, on-page discussion of the labels people choose for themselves, which, you know, is fine. Obviously, like, if a label matters to you, then it matters to you, and that's to be you know, respected and stuff, but it's also okay for a label to not really matter to you, and you're just like, yeah, queer into everything, like that's also fine. And that's kind of the vibe of most of her books, is, you know, all of the characters are ostensibly queer, but they don't necessarily have labels. You're just like, yeah, they could end up in any configuration and be very happy. But I'm not sure, outside of the sleepover, I'm not sure if I've read any FFM from Sarah. Maybe a little bit in the Fey Queen's Captive, because that's an FF pairing. Not sure. But yeah, still enjoying myself. I think I'm going to split this video project into 3 separate videos. So I'll save the Forbidden Trinity. I just got a physical copy. Yeah, I'll save the Forbidden Trinity and the books co-written with Lauren Page for a separate video. And that can be like the ones that the Sierra Simone books I'm most hesitant about. And then the third and final video will be reading the whole Christmas Notch series. So for that, I will start by rereading A Merry Little Meet Cute, and then I'll just read the rest of the Christmas Notch books. So to finish this video, I need to read the rest of Music Box Girl, which is most of it, Red and White, and Sherwood. And now I think I'm going to have something to eat, because I haven't eaten today, and it is 4:15 p.m. I mean, I'm sure you can see from the fact it is light, it is p.m. But yeah, I should go eat something. I feel like it's been a couple of days since I did an update. That was not intentional at all. So on Sunday, I didn't read much. I had a weird sort of out of sorts day where didn't really pick up much in the way of my book. I think I might have finished Music Box Girl on Sunday. And then yesterday was Monday and I had the dentist, which is neither here nor there. But we also finally got the electricity fixed. I feel like an absolute idiot. We got an electrician out, and it turns out we hadn't realised that our broken washing machine was still plugged in, and that was what was that's what was tripping the electrics with our broken washing machine that we haven't used in years. So we paid for an electrician to basically tell us something we should have figured out ourselves. But in defense to us, like, or in general, like, you wouldn't expect a broken washing machine to still be plugged in, would you? I don't know. I feel a bit silly, but it is what it is, and it's fixed now. But now I feel like all the little tasks that I kind of put off because the electricity wasn't working, and I feel like I need to do today. But what's ended up happening is it's created a choice paralysis where I feel like I need to do all of the things. So I'm doing none of the things. But I did finish Once Upon a Dream. So I read to the end of Music Box Girl, and then I read Red and White. So that's that bind up of novellas read. And I actually think, even though this vlog's only been 5 days and I planned on it being 7, I think that's a good point to leave off for this vlog. So in terms of what I still need to read in the Sierraverse, there's Sherwood, the 2 books that are co-written with Lauren Page, the Forbidden Trinity, and then all of the Christmas Notch books, which I can't remember how many that adds up to. So can't remember if I said earlier, but that will be 2 more videos. So I guess we were always going to get more Sierra Simone, but we're definitely going to be getting more Sierra Simone because I've got 2 more videos to complete this project. Before I sign off, let me talk about, the 2 stories I haven't really spoken about. So Music Box Girl is a retelling of 12 Dancing Princesses, and in the same way that the fairy tale origins of the Princess and the Pea in American Witch were quite subtle, it was the same in Music Box Girl, and even more so in Red and White. So in Music Box Girl, you've got these 12 ballerinas that are sneaking out at night, and you've got a ex-soldier who's now a private investigator who has been hired to find out where they are sneaking off to at night. And I won't give away the secret, but I liked what it did. And then there ended up being like a 13 way in the book, which, okay, very much was not expecting that. And it ended in a kind of happy for now way. So American Witch, I feel like, was a happy ever after. Music Box Girl was a happy for now. And Red and White kind of goes either way. So Red and White is Snow White and Red Riding Hood. And they save someone from the snow. Like, there's not too much time spent building up on what actually drove this third person into their company, but essentially we've got Scarlet, who is, I guess, Red Riding Hood, Snowdrop, who is Snow, and then this man called Liam, who gets likened to a bear quite a bit, and apparently I can think of no words to talk about. I enjoyed it. It was fun to see an FFM story from Sierra Simone, and it had her trademark kind of way that she approaches discussing like sex and whatnot, because there's this moment where these characters are, I can't even remember the exact phrasing, but like I think it's either digital or oral stimulation is happening, and one of the characters is like, I want you to fuck me. And this guy like turns around and goes, well, it's all sex. Which is such a small throwaway line, but does a great job of like reiterating that oral, digital, penetrative, wow, that was a hard word for me to say, are all different forms of sex, and they're all sex, and it breaks away from the cis-het view of sex being, a P and V is sex and everything else is sort of sex asterisks. Like it's all just sex. So yeah, I had a good time reading some Sierra Simone. I'm happy that I've ticked off more items on the checklist, and I feel pretty confident that by the end of the year I will have read all the Sierra Simone that are currently available. What I might do is I might hold off on doing part 2 of this video until Devil, which is going to be book 4 in the pre-series, comes out, or I might do a third video where we read the pre-series. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you are a fan of Sierra Simone, feel free to chat to me in the comments. Let me know what your favourite is. But until next time, you can find me deep in the marginalia. Love you. Bye. Okay, so this pasty as anything, because what? Okay. I really need to stop making promises on camera because I am like decidedly unreliable. What's the point of this video?